The most important thing we can give our children. There are many things that the world tells us we should or need to do for our children. They should have the best education at the most expensive schools. They should be in 8 different extracurricular activities a week. And they should have 2 or 3 playdates with their friends every week. The list could go on and on. What if I told you the most important thing for your child, assuming you want them to grow up happy, successful, resilient, and caring, is a secure, safe attachment with at least one, more is better, mature adult figure? As their parents, you are in the perfect position to be that unconditional, safe haven, the calm and reassuring harbor they know they can always come back to. However, secure attachments can be other adults in our child's lives, like family members, teachers, step parents. Any trusted, mature adult can support them in that way. If you, as their parents, are that secure attachment for them, then you know they are getting their needs met. What is a safe and secure attachment? It means that our children know and are consistently reminded that they are loved, that they are accepted, and that there is someone there for them no matter what. It's closeness, both physically and emotionally. It's being connected and being truly known by another person that cares deeply for us. These core attachments in our children's lives are their home base, their shield from all the world throws at them. The tough days at school, their fights with their friends, the sadness and the pain of life. As an adult, just think of the people closest to you. Think of one of your closest friends. What is it about that relationship and that person that makes you want to be in that person's life? Do you feel connected to them? Do you feel known and seen by them? That is one of our deepest needs as human beings. And when we don't have that in our life, we want it. Now, you might be having a bunch of thoughts or memories flash through your mind right now. Times when you lost your temper with your children, maybe when you were too busy to listen to them. That is your innate knowing of what your child needs. The wonderful thing about the child parent dynamic is your child knows innately or intuitively, as a base instinct, that they need a secure attachment to someone who will guide them and keep them safe. Think of the baby duck or goose that imprints on its mother right after it's born. Its nature directs it to find a safe place, a compass point that will direct it in how to live and survive. Human babies are much the same. When they are born, they cry. Their only way to communicate at that point, to let us know they need something. Society has long known the importance of the mother-child and the father-child relationships, the importance of breastfeeding an infant and connecting to them physically through touch, meeting their survival needs, and, as they get older, giving them direction. When children start to crawl and walk, we direct them to keep them safe. And as they get older, we direct them in navigating the world in other ways. They have that innate knowing that they need us, and really, they depend on us for their basic survival. We know instinctively how to parent them, how to meet their needs. We might stumble through it, but when we trust ourselves, we just know what to do. See, nature is really smart. It knows that as parents, we are going to have to dedicate ourselves to our children in ways that before we had kids, we could hardly imagine. I think you all know what I'm talking about. The sleepless nights, the changing of diapers, the constant attention that it takes to keep a young, mobile child safe, and the thousands of things we do for our children without the least bit of gratitude from them. Nature is smart because it creates a loving bond between us and our child, and that it makes all of that easier for us. It makes it easier to make these sacrifices. Many of us do them gladly. Some of us are even crazy enough we decide to do it again by having more children. The truth is, our children don't stop needing us and needing that unconditional relationship as they get older. It definitely changes over time. As they get older, they will need us physically less and less. They will be able to dress themselves and feed themselves, and God willing, clean up after themselves. As they get older, They will need us to guide or be their compass point in how to handle their emotions, navigate school and friendship, and later romantic relationships. We can't be our children's compass point if they haven't given us that permission. They give us that power and authority when they trust us to be there for them unconditionally. A secure or safe attachment in your child's life gives them the ability to stay with the experience of emotion. It allows them to flow with or through the rise and fall of the emotional experience, therefore, not getting stuck in the middle or needing to create defenses to protect themselves. Can you imagine getting into your early 20s and having a grasp on how to not let your emotions overwhelm you all the time? Our brains more naturally flow through challenging experiences when we know we are held in the arms of safety. We can be that shelter from the storm for our kids until they have found their own resilience, their own self love, because they know they can practice and fail and always return to that safe place in the relationship they have with you. As a father, I have always loved and naturally looked on the titles of guardian and guide as a parent. As you might see in my face, I take great pride and feel honored to hold those positions in my son's life. Those two terms really encapsulate what I've come to know through my own experience as a father and as a counselor of what the job of a parent really is. We are to protect and guide our children until they no longer need that from us. It's understood from a psychological perspective that a safe environment are the key things our children need for maturation and healthy individuation, which are two things that will serve them in having the best life as an adult. As I mentioned earlier, children instinctively know that they need a safe person to always come back to, a compass point to orient themselves to. If they don't get that, they will find it somewhere else. This is actually a really good thing for them. It directs them to find a safe, secure attachment if they aren't getting it. What Dr. Neufeld warns us about is when our children are looking to have those attachment needs of being seen and known, loved no matter what, and for guidance on how to navigate the world from other children. Children just don't have the emotional stability, unconditional love, the ability to put another person's needs above their own like a mature adult can. You can see this widespread in many, or maybe even most cultures today. We see kids desperately needing their friends, always needing to be in contact with them, even after they've just seen them. It shows up as children turning on their parents in favor of their friends. They make alliances with their friends and protect those alliances by pushing away any threat to them, including their parents. We often see as children get older, they want to spend more and more time with friends. We might see it as them gaining independence from their parents. But they need us more than most of us realize. We are the adults in these relationships. We need to guide them with strength, even when they are teens and young adults. This isn't to say that children shouldn't have good and close friends. Of course they should. It is saying that they need to have their attachment needs met by a trusted adult and not other children. We are the adults, and it is our job to direct them when they go astray. Many of us don't realize or want to accept the truth of this. It might seem a lot easier when our kids are getting older that they spend more and more time with their friends, which gives us more time for ourselves, to work, to be social, our friends, and have time for what we want. Of course, there is a balance. As a parent, you need to have time to recharge your own batteries, but I strongly encourage you to make the relationship with your children a high priority. Has parenting gotten harder? Whenever I think of this question, I always think of that old man voice. Well, back in my day, we walked 20 miles to school in the snow in both directions. Right? People always seem to think that what they lived through was harder than how it is now. I can't really say if parenting has gotten harder or easier in current times. There's certainly a lot more information and awareness about parenting. There didn't used to be books written about parenting, courses teaching you how to be a better parent. In the past, this video wouldn't have been needed. A lot has changed in the last 50, 30, or even 10 years. Our society and cultures have changed. We used to live more tribally. Children were the responsibility of all the adults in the village. Children had an entire village directing them, loving them, and protecting them. We used to live with, or at least very near, our extended families. We lived in small towns and communities. We had the support of many other adults. Now, many of us don't live near or choose to spend time with our families. We don't come together as communities like we once did. The world has also changed when it comes to finances and economics. For many families, both parents need to work to support even a basic existence. We put our kids in daycares that have high children to adult ratios. So the kids don't get the individual attention that they need, especially when they're really young. Now, I don't say this to blame all of these things that have changed in the world. I share them to bring them to awareness. For most parents, at least in Western society, we have an enormous pressure to fill the void of attachment for our kids, since there often just isn't any other mature adults to fill it. The structure of our society doesn't support us in the way society supported parents in the past. Now, I want to share with you some good news. This good news is when our children are attached to us, it actually makes them easier to parent. They're able to hear what we're saying better. They're able to follow our direction and pay attention better. It makes the dynamic between us flow more easily or better. The connection also makes us feel good within ourselves as people. I know for me, after I've connected to my son by focusing on him and his needs, I feel good. I have a surge of energy and of joy. I see children being a lot like adults in this way. If you think about it, when someone has upset you, or you don't like someone, you're going to be a lot less likely to listen to them. Maybe it's your boss or a coworker, or better yet, your romantic partner, and they ask you for something. What is your response? Your response is probably, yeah, not going to happen, right? So why would it be any different for children? We resist communication and guidance from people that we don't trust or we're upset with. This is called counterwill, and it's actually a good thing. I might talk about it more in another video. And then another example, kind of an opposite example, when a relationship is good between you and another person, you tend to trust what that person is telling you. If you're looking to buy a new car, to get a massage, or find a therapist, what do most people do? They ask their friends who they trust for recommendations. They're asking their friends for direction in how to solve their problem. It's the same with kids. If you have that secure relationship, they will look to you for direction. I want to talk a little bit about some of the biggest challenges in being a loving parent because, I'm saying all of this, but I know it's not easy. A good attachment relationship with our kids will keep the love flowing between us, which can give us a real boost to stay in this loving and available place for our children, even when they're telling us they hate us and how we've ruined their lives. No matter how amazing a parent we are, there are always going to be times when we lose our cool and aren't as loving or as patient with our kids as we want to be. In almost all circumstances, we can mend or repair the relationship. We can reestablish our children's trust. As you might expect, the better our relationship with them, the easier it is to repair. Now, often when we think about parenting, we focus on our kids and what they need. What they need is us to be as loving and safe as we can be for them. But let's face it, our kids are experts on pushing our buttons. Now, they don't mean to push our buttons, and I think that's an important thing to remember, but they do. We obviously can't expect ourselves to always be perfect, but for the sake of our children and ourselves, we are well served to have our own loving practices that support us. Becoming a more happy, balanced, and mature individual ourselves is probably the best thing we can do as a parent. After all, the main thing our kids want and need from us is to be loved, to be accepted. The more we love and accept ourselves, the more we can be there for them. Like one of my mentors, I love the analogy of the oxygen masks on the airplane, right? When you go and fly, they get up there and they do their instructions, and they always tell you, in the case of emergency, put on your mask first, right? Before you help anyone else. Because if you aren't breathing, you're not any good to anyone else, right? If we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take good care of anyone else. I have some more good news for you. The chances are very good that no matter what your relationship with your child is like right now, it could improve in some way. I know mine could. It could also be that your children are relying on their friends for support, and that's okay too. But don't worry. In all but a few very rare situations, it can all turn around. Of course, it's easier to keep a good connection with our children than trying to reestablish one. So if your kids are looking to you for love and direction now, it doesn't hurt to make it even stronger. We never know what curveballs life are going to throw at us. So what can we do? We can learn more about attachment theory. That's a lot of what I'm sharing here, and how to stay connected to our children. In the future, I'll be releasing videos that talk about the basics of how we can connect to our children and be there for them unconditionally. Another good thing to remember is that not everyone in your life will understand or accept these ways of parenting. They might have strong convictions in some other way, and that's okay. Remember that your children are your responsibility, and you have the right to do what you believe to be best for them. Another thing we can and I really encourage you to do, is take care of yourself. As parents, our children aren't going to take care of our needs, or at least they shouldn't, as it's not their jobs. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't take care of ourselves. When you get the emotional or mental support you need, you give yourself and your child a gift. When our upsets are triggered less often, and we trust ourselves to be less defended, we become more loving, more forgiving, and more caring for ourselves. That might be working through our anger or anxiety, getting support with our grief, or having more fulfilling adult relationships. All of this brings us more joy, acceptance, and understanding, which benefits everyone in our lives. I want to speak to two critical things that are really important to balance out everything that I've shared so far. One of these things are, even when we feel we haven't done the best job as a parent, it's critical not to beat ourselves up about it. Of course, that is easier said than done. For myself, knowing all I know and doing my own therapy, I still have moments with my son where I'm like, damn it, I just didn't do that very well. I got upset and I wasn't very patient with him. I might have lost my temper, got harsh with him. I might be rushing him to do something because I'm in a rush for some reason. But I'm human. I have tons of other things I'm trying to do, trying to manage while I'm parenting. And it's okay that I make mistakes and learn. I've come to this place in my life where I see mistakes almost as a good thing, right? For me to learn and for him to learn. I think it's good that my son sees me make mistakes. And he starts to learn that it's okay to make mistakes, that he can learn from them. I remember when my son was about 2 years old. I don't remember exactly what was happening at this time in my life, but I came to realize for myself, no matter what I do, I'm going to mess him up in more ways than one, right? That one day he would probably be sitting in a therapist's office. I hope he goes sees a therapist when he gets older, but he's sitting in a therapist's office telling them of all the times when I wasn't perfect. When I did something that upset him and that he was still carrying around. But by realizing and at least having some acceptance of that, it helped me be okay when I missed the mark. When I could have done a better job. I know it's important that I also don't take that as a defeat. I could use that as an excuse not to do my best and show up for him. So I still do my very best to be an awesome father, and most of the time I am. But it also gave me some acceptance for myself that I was going to make mistakes, and it wasn't the end of the world. As I love and accept myself, I'm more available to him for that. I can't go back and change those things, those times that I made mistakes. But I can do something about how I am with him now and in the future. And the other critical thing I want to remind you of is that you don't need to be there for your kids 100% all the time. Of course, We can't spend all our time being there for our kids. That just isn't possible. We have our lives. It's actually not good for our kids when we're there all the time for them, every second. It is good for them to fail and learn things for themselves. What I do see as ideal is that they know that we're there for them when they really need us. So now, I've been talking a lot here, sharing some really great information with you. But the work that I do with my clients as a counselor, as a therapist, is largely experiential. And that means it's a live experience in the here and now. So I want to offer you a quick experience. It isn't therapy, but I wish that you get some value out of this video too, not just the information. So it's up to you if you want to take the offer or not. And if for any reason you want to stop at any time, please do that. I encourage you to do that, right? Look after yourself. This experience can be done by anyone. So I'm going to ask you to relax. Take a few slow, calm breaths. If you have a child in your care, I want you to picture them. See their face and their smile. See their eyes looking at you. And if you don't have a child in your care, then I want you to remember when you were a child. I want you to see one adult in your life as a child that you felt safe with. I want you to picture a scene that was really happy for you. Remember a time when your child was connected to you and you were both sharing a wonderful moment. Or, as a child, when you felt seen and loved, even if it was only for a few moments. I want you to gently breathe into the feeling of that moment. Notice your body and how it feels in your body. See if a smile doesn't show up on your face. Now see that feeling of happiness, of joy, and of connection inside your body. Somewhere in the center of you is good. Remembering to keep breathing gently. See if that feeling has a color. Does it have a shape? Is there a sound that comes to mind with this experience? I'm going to just leave you with that experience just for a moment. Now slowly let that joyous feeling inside you expand. Let it expand so it fills your whole body. And if it feels okay for you, let it expand out past your body, out into space. Again, I'm going to leave you with this experience for a few moments. Now bring that feeling back inside your body. Know that you can revisit this experience again whenever you have a few minutes. Thank you for listening. It fills me with so much joy to know that there are so many parents that want to give their children the very best that they can. I appreciate you. Thank you.